Your mother is supposed to be your safe place, your protector, your first love. But what happens when that love turns violent? When the very hands meant to cradle you instead become instruments of unimaginable pain? How does a bond so sacred shatter into something so unspeakably cruel? At first glance, Roshan S. Gatlin seemed like just another young mom trying to make a name for herself, sharing the ups and downs of motherhood on TikTok. Her videos danced across screens, snippets of laughter, little milestones, chaotic mornings, and sleepy bedtime routines. To her followers, she was relatable, endearing, even inspiring. She was living the messy, beautiful reality of parenthood, one post at a time. But can we ever truly know what lies beyond a filtered smile? Behind the happy faces, the playful dances, and the relatable content, something darker was quietly festering. Something so deeply hidden that it would soon explode in a way no one could have ever imagined. A nightmare that would leave a little girl fighting for her life, and a community struggling to understand how a mother could cross the unthinkable line. On April 21st, 2025, Palm Beach County became the setting for one of the most shocking and horrific events in recent memory. Roshan Gatlin, only 27 years old, was arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder after allegedly stabbing her 3-year-old daughter more than 20 times in what authorities have described as a brutal and senseless attack. But the horror didn't end there. This wasn't just a random act of violence committed in a blind rage. It wasn't a chaotic outburst in a moment of madness. The chilling details, as they began to unfold, would leave even the most seasoned investigators shaken, especially when it was revealed that the entire attack had been captured on security footage provided by the child's own father. How does something like this happen in a place that should have been filled with bedtime stories, lullabies, and unconditional love? In the haunting footage, Gatlin is seen walking calmly into the kitchen, her eyes vacant, her movements unnervingly steady. She retrieves a large kitchen knife, the kind you'd expect to see preparing family meals, not something you'd associate with a monstrous act of betrayal. She walks toward the hallway, where her daughter, still innocent, still trusting, toddles after her without hesitation. What happened next is something no parent, no human being, should ever have to witness. Gatlin, with a chilling calmness, allegedly begins to stab her daughter, more than 20 times. Blow after blow, aimed primarily at the child's tiny torso, each wound a grotesque betrayal of every promise a mother makes to her child. The final stab, delivered to the child's right arm, seemed almost mechanical, a final punctuation mark on an act of horror. The mother who should have been her protector had become her executioner. And yet, despite the bloodshed, despite the incomprehensible violence she had just unleashed, Roshan Gatlin didn't run. She didn't try to cover her tracks. Instead, she picked up the phone. It was her own voice that broke the heavy silence, calling 911, confessing to the unspeakable. What could possibly compel a mother to not only commit such an atrocity, but then calmly dial for help in its aftermath? The 911 operator, grappling to make sense of the horror unfolding on the other end of the line, quickly dispatched officers to the scene. When they arrived, they found the toddler, still breathing, still alive, clinging to life by a fragile thread. The child was rushed to St. Mary's Hospital, where doctors fought desperately to save her. And against all odds, she survived. Her injuries, though devastating, were not fatal. Miraculously, the little girl's body and indomitable spirit held on. But no scalpel, no stitch, no surgery could ever undo the invisible scars this child would carry for the rest of her life. In the aftermath, as Gatlin sat under arrest, the questions began to swirl. What darkness had taken root inside her? What unseen battles had she been fighting? Battles so fierce, so consuming, that they ended with the child's blood on her hands. Was this an unthinkable psychotic break? Was it years of hidden mental health struggles, ignored and untreated? Or was there something even darker at play, something sinister that no one, not even those closest to her, had recognized? Answers, at least immediately, were scarce. But it didn't take long for one crucial detail to emerge. Rashawn Gatlin had been placed under the Baker Act, Florida's law permitting involuntary psychiatric evaluation for those deemed a danger to themselves or others. It confirmed what many had already begun to suspect. Something inside her had snapped. But what exactly had broken? And why? The child's father, a figure who has remained largely silent in the public eye, became a key part of the investigation, providing authorities with the crucial security footage that exposed the truth. Beyond that, little is known about his emotional reaction. Was he blindsided? Had he seen warning signs that others missed? Or had this horror been slowly, quietly brewing behind closed doors? One thing is certain. This was not a crime anyone could have predicted. Not from the smiling young mother posting dance videos. Not from the woman capturing sweet, candid moments with her daughter for the world to see. And yet, here we are. Gatlin's arrest sent shockwaves through the local community. Neighbors described her as eerily detached when taken into custody, emotionless, vacant, lost inside herself. And the questions, they haven't stopped. What could have pushed her so far over the edge? Was there a missed opportunity to intervene before tragedy struck? Were there signs that the people around her didn't recognize, or perhaps didn't want to see? The tragedy has reignited urgent conversations about the hidden struggles many parents face. How many mothers are silently drowning beneath the weight of untreated mental illness, putting on brave faces for social media until something inside them breaks? Could this have been prevented? Should it have been? As the investigation unfolds, one thing remains heartbreakingly clear. A little girl's world has been shattered by the very person she trusted most. Her physical wounds may heal with time, but the emotional devastation will take much longer, if it ever truly fades. For now, Rashawn Gatlin sits behind bars, awaiting trial. The brutal footage, the chilling 911 call, the sheer senselessness of it all. These will all loom large as her defense and her fate are decided in the courtroom. But the deeper questions, the ones that gnaw at the soul, may never have satisfying answers. Was she a victim of her unraveling mind? Or was something darker, more deliberate, driving her actions? And the most haunting question of all, how does a child rebuild her life after being betrayed by the very person who was supposed to love her unconditionally? This story, of love twisted into violence, of innocence shattered, of unanswered cries for help, will leave a permanent scar not just on one little girl, but on everyone who hears it. Because some tragedies don't just break hearts, they shatter faith,